Welcome to another Dark Nook video. Hey shop dog, you should subscribe and click that bell. In this video I'm going to show you the making of the base for the Chinese sewing machine that I recently purchased. I had to make a base for it. The one I bought didn't come with a base. It's a pretty simple setup. Just a block of wood bolted to another piece of wood and then a third piece of wood to provide a little support. I'm going to cut this other piece down, cut a notch in it, cut it into a little triangle and screw it onto the front end of this. You're going to measure with the calipers to make sure you got the right width. Draw that onto the board. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to talk through the entire thing. You don't want to hear me talk through the entire video, do you, buddy? Do ya? Go ahead and subscribe. Oh, that's a good boy. That's my shop dog. So once this is bolted down, it'll be flush with the block that it's bolted to. Oh look, here's one of those dollar store shop lights I was talking about. Super useful. So once I have it positioned where we want, I'm gonna make a little mark in the wood so we know where to drill out the holes. And you gotta test fit it to make sure there's knuckle clearance. It's not enough for it just to be clear. You got to make sure there's enough room for your knuckles so you're not scraping your knuckles along the bottom of the base every time you turn the crank. Drill out some pilot holes for this. Put these screws in. When you're fitting this on here, you have to be careful because one of the screws comes up right behind where this little cam has to turn. So you got to make sure it's got enough clearance to turn. And here's the cut down triangle piece to provide support. And we're ready for final assembly here. I'm just testing the movement of this walking foot. The machine is not threaded at this point. Hey buddy, why don't you come over here and take a look at our work and tell me what you think? What do you think? What do you think of my sewing machine? Oh, okay. Now let's take a look at the needles for a minute. I got these from a vendor on eBay. They were pretty cheap, about $2 or $3 for each 10-pack. I've got size 16, size 18. The thing to remember for these Chinese sewing machines is your needles have to be this HAX1 standard, or HA by 1 times 1. I'm not sure if it's a X or if it's a multiplication symbol. But this standard's not very common in America anymore. It's hard to find. So if you want these needles, you're probably going to have to order them online. Not like you're going to go into like Michael's or something and find these. You can see on the sides of the needles what size they are. It says it's printed into the side. You got to kind of turn them in the light. And they have them in a variety of sizes. I got a 16, I got an 18, a 20, and a 22. And I'm going to go ahead and thread this thing up so you can see what it looks like. We've got it fully assembled and ready to test. So you run the thread through the rocker arm and then around the tensioning disc. Because I'm using 1/38 thread, it's actually pretty thick. I'm just running it through one tensioning disc instead of two. I'm running that up to the top. And once you have it up through the top, pull enough slack so that it'll come all the way down. And this didn't come with a threading wire, so I made my own out of floral wire, which I got at the 99-cent store. Run the floral wire up, a little hook on the end of it, till it pops out the top of the sewing rod. Hook the thread on it and then pull it back down. And there you go. I had to use magnet on tweezers to get this damn bobbin spindle out. I could not get this thing out. So I took a magnet and put it on the end of some tweezers and used that. It worked great, so I highly recommend it. Plus, throw a couple of these magnets on the side of this thing because it's all cast iron, and use it to hold on to your spare needles. So once I got the bobbin threaded, put that back in the machine. There was a little bit of calibrating to get this right. But once I got it, the results are pretty great. What I found was there was a need, as you can see in there, I got one loose stitch right in the middle of that line. But what I found was the tensioning rod and the length of the stitch, you got to calibrate those. You got to tweak them and play with them for a while until you get the stitch the way you want it. And once you get the stitch the way you want it, everything works pretty well. At this point, the only problem I've had with this machine is the base that I made for it's a little too light. It wants to slide around a little on the table when I'm turning the crank. So I'm going to have to clamp it down with like a wood clamp. That should work pretty fine. Once that's done, I don't see having any problems at all with this thing. And you can tell when I'm turning the crank, it wants to slide and jiggle and wiggle a little bit. It's kind of difficult because I'm trying to stabilize the leather with one hand and turn the crank with the other. I don't really have a third hand to hold this thing still, so I'm gonna have to strap it down somehow. The only other issue working with some of this vegetable tan leather is that the walking foot's leaving a little bit of an imprint in the leather. I sanded it down slightly so it's not actually cutting into the leather, but it's leaving a little dent. So I'm gonna have to coat it with some rubber or sand it down just a little more. I hope you enjoyed another Dark Nook video. Thanks for stopping by. As always, if there's a project you'd like to see me work on, or if you have a question, feel free to leave a comment. Please subscribe and like the videos and click that bell and do all the YouTube-y things that YouTubers do. Once again, thanks for stopping by and checking out my videos.